All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 358 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today we've got Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss.
What's up?
Marcus Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
And the voice of reason, the new louder and improved Ken.
Can you hear me?
What? Sorry, I can't hear you. No, we can hear you. Thank you for the input from the listeners, as I do much less work on these things than I used to. So, what are we, 5 years in? Yeah, much less work. Mark, what you got going on?
Well, I have a bit of news I wanted to share for people who watch this and also follow my Project Gemini stuff. The UK and European orders were the ones that we've been waiting on. The package I sent with those albums were kind of stuck in customs, but I was told this morning by my European dude that he has picked up the package, that he has it, and he's started packaging up the records to send out. So starting tomorrow, things will be going out for everybody who's been waiting in the UK and in Europe for their Project Gemini in the year 3073 Book 2 copy. So thank you for your patience.
Very cool. And Joe Bailey has a pre-order going for the CD edition of Ghosts.
Yes.
I ordered mine this morning. I'm late doing so, but great album. I was actually listening to several of his albums from his catalog today while I was working.
Thank you very much for that, Julian, and thank you for mentioning it. Yes, there is a pre-order going on for Joe Bailey's new album, Ghosts. If you just go to the Joe Bailey website, or the Joe Bailey Bandcamp site, you can order it right there. It's only £7, I believe it is.
Seven quid 99.
Yeah, so that comes to $12 Canadian for those who are keeping count. So it's very affordable, and it's going to be a digipack, the same like we did before, the 6-panel, 8-page booklet. So it's not going to be some skimpy little, worth nothing sort of CD thing. It's going to have some bulk behind it, and it has some great artwork by Stephen, who did our Dark Monarchy stuff. So I appreciate any support that we get on that front.
Awesome. All right, I got some news.
Yes.
Do you guys want to know anything about the A&E biography trailer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You sure?
Yes.
You're not going to go all postal, I hope, because it's important to note that the 30-second thing that was circulated is an ad. It's a very general ad. It's 30 seconds. I mean, that should be a bit of a giveaway that you're not going to get much out of it other than, that can be seen everywhere by people who don't care and diehards, well, who probably don't care. But I was granted access to see the trailer, which is just under 3 minutes today. And my response to that was, holy shit. Footage. I'm not going to go into specifics about some of the footage that I did see. But as a diehard, I was very, very pleased by what I did see. And there is, again, let's be absolutely clear, there are a certain amount of video sources that have to be referenced in order to tell a story. There's a finite amount of that, but there is new stuff, which my response to that while watching, and again, it was a single watch, I didn't have opportunity to pause, go back, or anything, and I didn't take notes deliberately, because I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about it because I really want you to have that same experience that I had. But when footage went by, I was like, holy shit, I had not seen that before. I doubt anyone has, to be perfectly honest. There was some footage, obviously the Alive 2 film that you've seen previously looks like it's been rescanned in 4K. Because it was filmed on film, so it has the capability of being used in such a manner, and it was absolutely crystal clear. So that's something that we've all seen numerous times, but something that looks as vibrant in the 21st century as it probably would have looked to us way back when. There was a bit of narration about the story. Tom Morello is featured in the trailer, and this is the guy who inducted Kiss into the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
So I poo-pooed it a little bit before seeing him within the context of what he's doing. And him telling the aspects of the story that he was telling, I found... Did you enjoy his speech inducting the band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you did, I think you'll enjoy what he's doing in the trailer, at least. And then can you explode it into what the full 4-hour or whatever it is with commercials is going to be? Then quite probably. The narrative kind of displayed in that again, a trailer is an introduction, a longer ad that gives you a little bit more of a synopsis of where the story is going. Now, the narrative, I don't think, is going to surprise anyone. It is, of course, written much according to how the narrative has always been written. But there were aspects of it in dealing with some of the negatives that affected the band that I thought were actually handled pretty decently. And this is from a guy who's very much pro Peter Criss. Now, obviously, Peter and Ace are not a part of it. There's nothing we can do about that. Can we continue to bitch and moan that they're not in it? Sure, if that's what really makes you happy. But I think it's important to also have a takeaway from this, that there have been many biographies done on the band, and this is another. And I think what I want to stress is that I'm very optimistic about how this story is going to be told, that it's going to be fresh, that there's going to be a lot of the same story. How many, do you think you're going to discover any new aspects of history in this? That someone's come up with a chapter that none of us know? We're diehards. So I think that's important. But I'm excited now. I'm actually more excited after seeing it than I was prior. The footage that we've all seen, again, like the Alive 2 print, and some of the other things, and I just don't want to... There's one music video that was very rare for a while that is featured in there, so if people haven't seen it, they're going to be blown away by that.
Okay.
There is footage that we've seen from other events presented in a different context, and it all looked great. So I think when the trailer does come out, do watch it. And I would also say, keep in mind how many biographies have been done on the band, how many times the story has been told, and don't get hung up on the fact that Ace and Peter are not participating in this. Would it be nice? Absolutely. Is there canned footage in it? You know, more than likely that you will have seen again. But let the story speak for itself, and I'll end there. Very, very optimistic. And just to be able to say, I saw Kiss stuff today that I'd never seen before blows my mind, and that my response was those two words. Absolutely outstanding. Yeah. So I think diehards should be fan, and if their only takeaway from this whole thing is that they do see things that they haven't seen before, then I think that's probably a win, because to be perfectly honest, I don't see them giving a shit about the story because they already know the story in general or have their mind made up on aspects of it.
The only thing I'm worried about, you know how you get these movie trailers that come out and it's like a comedy, and they show you in the trailer all the best and funniest things that happen in the movie, and then you go to the movie and you go to it and it's like what they showed in the trailer was the only good stuff in the movie, and the rest of the movie sucked.
So you think the rest of it is going to be?
I hope it. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But it's like one of those things. Is like, oh yeah, I've seen trailers before where they make it look fantastic, and then you go to the movie theater.
Yeah, Detroit Rock City is a great example of that.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. But I'm guessing it's probably not in that case. Well, based on what you said, but you know, I don't think they're going to put all their eggs in the basket.
Oh, I don't know, and I don't know if they're doing screeners, and I somewhat hope that they're not allowing this to be reviewed before fans get the opportunity to see it. I hope they drop that trailer soon, because I really want all of you guys and everyone out there, you know, to have that same moment that I've had before someone reviews the whole thing and blows the surprises. You know, that would be the worst part.
When's the Tribeca thing? What date is that? Is that coming up, right?
Next week?
Or is it next weekend?
Yeah, I think it's 8. I think Andrew posted
12th?
today that it was 8
The
days
12th?
away or something.
Oh, okay. So it's a week away. All right. I'm just wondering if we'll, hear anything after that.
They've got to get that trailer out to the public before
Yeah.
the viewing, because otherwise, I'm sure there's more in the movie, that is not even teased about in there, in terms of new footage or footage that may be new to people. But again, just get that out as soon as possible so that all fans get to enjoy what I did. Because it's very cool. Again, the screeners, I have no idea. I haven't requested because I don't know where to freaking request it. I would love to see it and review it, but it'd be too easy to ruin it for other fans. So, Lonnie, has anything I said made you more or less interested in this documentary?
Well, I think footage that we haven't seen definitely makes me more excited. I mean, the four of us and most of the people watching this. I mean, the people who watch this are the diehards. To be honest. So, the four of us and the diehards that are watching this, well, we've seen a lot of what's out there. You know what I mean? I mean, we all have Kissology sets. We've seen the footage the band has officially released. We've seen the footage that's on Exposed. It's on Kiss My Ass. It's on Extreme Close Up. All this footage that they've officially released. We've all seen it, and we've all seen a lot of bootleg stuff too. Some more than others. But the fact that Julian, who I guarantee has seen more bootleg stuff than I have, is sitting here telling me that he saw stuff in a trailer that he's never seen before, well, that makes me excited. Especially considering it's, can I ask you if it's vintage type stuff? Is it 70s stuff that you've never seen before? Can you answer that for me or no? No.
I think let's put it this way. Do you think that I would react quite as enthusiastically to, say, a pro shot clip from Asylum? Highly improbable, Starchild.
There you go. There's your answer without saying. So that makes me excited to see things I've never seen before, and for Julian to say the same thing makes me excited. Now, and we've talked about it to death, and you guys talked about it last week, and we know how the story is going to, what version of the story is going to be laid out. We know that. So I think for me, I have to, when I sit down to watch it that Sunday night when it's on TV, I have to go in there with that attitude that I know what version is going to be told, and I'm not going to get upset by it. Not every Kiss fan is going to be able to go in there with that attitude, or is going to want to go in there with that attitude. But I think that's the attitude I'm going to have, and I think that's the attitude, if you're going to enjoy it, come to terms with that before it debuts on TV.
And keep in mind, I mean, what I've kind of intimated, and as much as I can say, keep in mind how many times the story has been told. There's only so many ways to skin a cat. No offense, Peter. You can't just reinvent the story and change the narrative, because the narrative is what it is. So, again, I was pleased at points of how that narrative was kind of presented. And that's the standard story. I was like, oh, well, that's a new twist. And again, I just don't want to say too much now, other than kind of sharing my excitement and my, reaction to it. Mark, I don't even know if they're going to be showing it in Canada. Do you think you're able to see it, or do you know if you can?
I haven't had cable TV in about 7-8 years. I do the old illegal digital antenna thing, where I just grab digital channels off, with a store-bought antenna. So, I still get 32 channels like that. One of them is not A&E. So I'm going to have to rely on YouTube footage of this stuff. So chances of me seeing this are probably slim to none, unless some of my fellow Kiss, people, fans here will, maybe shoot me a link privately or something like that. Maybe I'll be able to see it that way, but I think it's unlikely. But I'll say this, I am excited about it now as well. Like we all mentioned before, Julian is somebody who has probably seen the vast array of bootleg things and things that most people haven't seen. Well, more than we have, that's for damn sure. And for him to be excited about this is a good sign, because usually he's not excited about things like this. So if it's worth watching, then you'll be better believe I'll be one of the first people in line to make sure I do watch it somehow, somewhere. Whether if I had to go over to my sister's place, take an hour drive somewhere to sit in front of her sofa or in front of her TV on her sofa and watch it, because they have A&E, so I could probably watch it there. But it sounds more worth watching now than before. It was interesting. I was watching your guys' podcast from last week, and you guys were touching upon the Alan Parker unreleased documentary. And I know that David Donnelly is friends with Alan Parker and said that he was also surprised to hear that wasn't coming out. But I don't know why either. Before anybody starts messaging me, say, "Hey, what happened?" I have no idea. David doesn't have any idea, and even if he did, I'm sure he couldn't tell me what happened. But it is interesting to see how this one turns out. Again, Julian made a good point. Are we going to learn anything new? Probably not. But I'll tell you, for me, Kiss has always been a visual band more than it's been anything else, and to see new visuals is exciting just on that basis alone. I mean, if they're smart, they'll put them in sporadically throughout the whole thing, instead of hopefully not dropping it all within the first hour or whatever, and then you have nothing new to watch for the rest of it. Hopefully they'll put it spread out amongst the 4 hours. That'll make it worth sitting down and watching the whole thing. I think it'll still be worth anyways to watch the whole thing, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you couldn't pay me to shill this. I'm not shilling. I couldn't fake that enthusiasm if I tried. I'm just not built that way. So, again, very pleased that I did get the opportunity. I want to pimp something else that I posted this week, and that was, of course, the second episode of the KissFAQ Song Story series.
Yes.
This week, where I'm covering Love Her All I Can. So check out those. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think about them. I've got 10 done for the first season.
Wow.
Then I'll figure out how. Well, I actually recorded once a day. Problem was I was wearing headphones, and I went to start cleaning up the audio after work, and I'd been tapping my foot the whole time. It's like, yeah, good work. And talking about documentaries, the video from The 70-Year-Old Demon, that's the Japanese NHK Gene Simmons documentary, has finally made its way to YouTube. It's the edited version. There's a longer one that doesn't circulate, and it's not supposed to be shown outside of Japan for, I guess, rights issues or maybe some other issues, who knows. But finally getting to see that and being able to talk about it, it's a very touching documentary. So I'd recommend you track that down on YouTube before it disappears. I'm surprised it's stayed up as long as it has, because it does show a very vulnerable side of Gene Simmons and the band, talking about their age and the challenges that they face, at 70 years old, continuing to do what they do. And maybe that sets me up in a good way to see the vintage stuff that I saw. No, there's a hint. Because it makes me appreciate it all the more. That here I was starting the week seeing elderly, 70, vulnerable, careworn. I'm going to use as a phrase, because they're all battle scarred. Look at Paul Stanley, shoulder rotators and knees and ribs, and Gene, tenderly getting off the riser when he comes down at the start of a show. So, yeah, do check that out. All right, let's move on into some kind of random topics. And one of the things Ken, Gary, and I talked about on the podcast episode, I want to get your guys' thoughts on as a random episode kind of topic, because it's one that shouldn't take much thought. And it's songs that have not aged very well in kissified history. I threw out there, let's put the X in sex, because I'm very uncomfortable by what that song represents after it was performed by a child, which just, at an expo, which to me was just completely inappropriate. We talked about Christine 16, who turned 60.
Mm-hmm.
And how that's changed. And there was a good discussion going on in the FAQ about how someone's daughter had kind of called him out for listening to a song because by today's standards, it's not acceptable, whereas when we were 14 and listening to it, it was a completely different thing. So, Mark, are there songs in the Kiss catalog that haven't aged well for you?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, some of them are, lyrically, obviously, like songs like "Going Blind," and then the old Christine 16, of course, are ones that are, kind of. I kind of laugh at it more than I frown upon it because I mean, I'm really sure that Gene, back when he was 26 or whatever age he was when he wrote that song, wasn't thinking to himself, maybe I should rethink these lyrics because when I'm 70 years old, they're going to think differently of me singing it. I don't think that was even an inkling in his mind when he wrote that. And I think that's one thing that people seem to forget when they start criticizing these kinds of songs, that they were thinking in the moment. Songwriters, and me being a songwriter myself, I don't think about what's going to happen 25 years from now with a song. I'm thinking about right now, not then. So I kind of give him a little bit of a pass on some of these songs. But musically, some songs I find have not, aged as well for me. I mean, I've always thought that, even though it's not one of their songs, "Kissing Time" has always been something that's never gotten better with time, as far as I'm concerned. And there's other songs within the catalog too. I mean, "Let's Put the X in Sex" is kind of cringeworthy. So is "Read My Body" and songs like that. But and of course the one song that I've tried. I've really, really tried, and I preface this to Lonnie, saying, "Lonnie, my friend, I have really tried my utmost to fully give Revenge its full due, but I still cannot get into Spit. No matter how much I try, I just can't get into
my
it."
guilty pleasure song a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but they know that's the thing. For certain people, they might not agree. Some people might think that I'm crazy to have mentioned the songs that I mentioned, but hey, all of us have different tastes and different things that we like. So.
Yeah, we're not talking about canceling these songs either. They were
Yeah.
written in a time you can't become revisionist and start applying modern, thought to what was going on in the 70s. As I find by spending so much time in newspaper ads, the 70s were a completely different era than we live in today.
Oh, yeah.
Just all the porn, all the swinging, all that stuff that just filled up newspapers. You'd have a Bible religion section, then it would be the hardcore XXX, It was a different time than we're in today. Lonnie, are there any songs that you feel particularly haven't aged well? And go ahead and pick all of Mark's favorites.
Right. No, exactly. Sure. We can say "Let's Put the X in Sex" and "Make Me Rock Hard." Those haven't aged well. Those are easy targets. You can say, but you can say like, well, when they wrote Christine 16, well, that's kind of cringeworthy now. Well, when they wrote Christine 16 in 77, they probably weren't thinking Kiss was going to be around in 2021 and still playing shows. I mean, the idea that they would still be playing these songs that many years later, they themselves would have told you there's no chance we're still going to be playing and running around in this makeup and these heels and everything else that many years later, 40 years later. They would have told you that. So have they aged poorly? I don't know. I think they're great for timestamps of when they were written. You have to look at it like that. Like Julian was saying with things that were going on in the 70s. They're great for timestamps of when they're written. Christine 16 is a perfect 70s Kiss song. "Let's Put the X in Sex," "Read My Body." Well, that's what music was. That's what music was in the late 80s, early 90s. That's what hair metal was all about too. So I just think that's what music is. You go back and you listen to the Beatles. Well, that's time stamped to the 60s. You go back and listen to some jazz. Well, that's Miles Davis or something. I mean, it's perfect for its moment. It's a time capsule, music is. So have they aged poorly? I don't know, because I think they're great representations of the era in which they were written and released.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you just touched on something, Lonnie. You mentioned the Beatles. If you know the song, I Saw Her Standing There. Paul McCartney says, she was just 17. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it was going on back then, and but definitely the 70s. It was a different time, and it was right or wrong. It was acceptable. It was accepted in the 70s and into the 80s. All the, like you said, the hair bands, all the lyrics and those songs are just crazy.
She's only 17.
Yeah, it goes on and on. So, but when Julian brought up the topic, I thought of not necessarily the lyrics. I thought more of a song that was probably like a single, known as a pretty good song. But now I just don't care for it anymore. So one of the songs that I don't care for too much anymore, that I liked back in the 80s, was All Night, and now but now it's kind of it seems too cheesy for me, that sort of thing. And let's face it, there's a ton of cheesy Kiss songs out there, right, that we know of.
It's Kiss.
I know, but I liked it a lot better back then. Not because of the content. I just think the song is not as good as I thought it was when I first.
Your taste has matured like fine wine, has it, Ken?
That's right.
You're not into that kind of cheese stuff. You're into more caviar stuff now, right?
Yeah, you're moving on to caviar. You have to...
See, but here's the thing, though. It's interesting, though. You brought up the Beatles about she's only 17. The thing when you bring that up is, I guarantee most people are gonna say, well, how could you possibly put the Beatles and Kiss in the same bracket? Immediately you have that kind of.
I'm not comparing. Kiss to the Beatles.
I know, but I'm just saying that that's what I mean by that, because most people should be bringing that up. If they're gonna bring up Kiss, why didn't they bring up the Beatles? Well, because to some people, the Beatles are like that untouchable region of music that, how dare we say anything about them?
I'm not comparing Kiss to Miles Davis either. I'm just making comparisons.
And I agree with you guys. I'm just saying that's probably why they, that's probably why that sort of stereotyping occurs with the bands like Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just think about the Beatles. And then some of one song jumps to mind: John Lennon singing about threatening his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So they were not all nice. There was a little bit of edge to some of their material. Are we going to cancel the Beatles now? Not bloody likely. And neither should we cancel any music. So, put on that Ted Nugent CD and go for it. All right, let's move on. There was actually a good podcast this week that came out, and that sounds like an oxymoron. A good podcast that came out this week. Other than ours, of course. Download Reloaded had an interview with Paul Stanley, and he talked about the biopic, and he loves the script. Does that give you any hope? Or
does it make you cringe?
He loves the script.
And he also had no preconceptions about who should be cast for this thing. I think that was the more important. Actually, the whole interview was very, very good. Not too long, and he seemed relaxed and came across well. But if Paul says that he's really happy about it, scare you, Lonnie?
Yeah, it makes me cringe a little bit. Again, going back to the A&E documentary, that I know the story that's gonna be portrayed. But again, if you go into that thinking you're gonna get a pro Ace and Peter spin on it, you're gonna be severely disappointed. It's gonna be the story that's been told over and over again. And again, my same attitude about that as about the A&E thing, because you're going to be severely disappointed if you're thinking it's going to be any other way.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, he likes the script, so how many rewrites were there before the final script? Did he have to turn it back, or did he? It was on the first time he saw the script, everything was perfect in it. I kind of doubt that, but you never know, I guess. But I think it's maybe either one of two things, that it's going to be Gene and Paul's story for the most part, or it's going to be it's so vanilla that it's not hurting or bothering anybody, kind of thing. I don't know what to make of it, but yeah, and I don't think Paul would say I like the script if it was
It didn't
It
align
was
with his
praising
opinion.
Ace and Peter.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if yeah, but supposedly, I don't know. I don't want to say any more about
Mr.
it.
Vinnie
We'll just
Vincent saved
have
Kiss.
to
I don't
wait
think like
and
that.
see. We're just gonna have to wait and see if it ever gets made.
Yeah, settle down, Lonnie. We're getting to Vinny.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Yeah, the only thing about the biopic that I'm just thinking about some of the key scenes that I hope they represent in this, because we know what the story is going to be. I would really love, and I really don't care what Paul thinks of it, because it's about what I think of it when I see it. That matters. If he's happy, it gets made. If I'm happy, I get to see it. So I want to see them do a really good representation of Bob Ezrin's boot camp, of him shouting at Gene Simmons that he didn't know how to tune his instruments and grabbing the bass from him to tune it, and then torturing Peter on drums about time, and then them getting to the end of it and Bob saying something positive about them, that you got it, that's a take, that's fine, something like that, something that makes them suffer and shows them all suffering equally in the studio while they learned how to be studio musicians rather than musicians recording music. Two vastly different things. All right, I've triggered Mark with Bob and Destroyer. Mark, biopic.
Yeah, I think the main thing to be concerned about is, like we said, Paul liking it. I mean, look, there's that old saying that people usually, as they get older, seem to mellow out and be more forgiving. I think Paul Stanley is one of these people who has not gotten mellower with age. He seems to be more and more concerned with himself and less about others around him, I think. And I think as long as he's happy with this, he could care less if how much they talk about Gene or anybody else in the band. I think that he wants to focus on him. I think that's the way it's going to go. I mean, I'm really curious to even see how they're going to portray the whole meeting of the two to begin with. I mean, these kind of things can get easily skewered and rewritten and, fixed to a certain person's vision than others, which is always a concern because, if you don't have all four of them in there contributing their ideas or contributing how it happened, you're not going to get the full story. I'm sorry. There's just no way. I mean, it doesn't matter how many books were written about it, how many things are out there, how many old clips there are. If you don't have everybody in there giving their input into it, it's never going to be a balanced look at things. That's one of the things, and I can see the eyes rolling already from you guys, but that's one of the things about Rush that I've always loved, is that they've always had all of them in there together when they did these sorts of things. And so you never got a totally one-sided thing. It was never just Geddy Lee talking about Rush. It was always at least the two of them, and usually three of them in there. So Kiss is one of those bands that always seems to be the ones that don't want to do that. They don't, it's like they're frightened what those other guys could possibly say about them, but at this point we've heard everything already. So what's there left to lose?
Well, every band has the other three or the other two. It simply is
except Rush.
Well, they have the other one, John.
Well,
let's see.
He was out of the picture a long time.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Vinny. No, let's talk about another guitarist. Who saw Bruce Kulick's tribute to his brother, the video?
I haven't seen it yet, but I
did.
It's a
Very
nice thing
cool.
to watch.
Yeah. Lonnie, thoughts on it?
Very cool. Very cool. Very heartfelt. I mean, you don't get much classier than Bruce Kulick, in my opinion. Talk about a guy that has handled everything that's happened from 1984 on with pure class.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And, I mean, the classiest member of the band. And when we first started doing the show, Mark had mentioned that's his favorite member of all time. And I think, and probably a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes like, oh, really, Bruce Kulick, whatever. But he is, and I've had the privilege of meeting him, multiple times. And every time I've met him, he is the most down the earth, nice guy, very humble. You know, he, so it doesn't surprise me that he would release such a touching tribute to his brother, because that's just who he is.
Yeah, nicely said. Very nicely. I was impressed by it. I loved the footage of Bob, some of the photos, and seeing some of the, Bruce included some of the other records, showing images of some of the stuff Bob had recorded. And there was some stuff I didn't know Bob had done. So very nice, but very well done, Bruce, putting that together, and obviously very heartfelt. Ken, did you get to see it yet? And if not,
I did not get to see it yet. So
why don't you like Bruce Kulick? Why don't you like Bob?
I like Bruce Kulick. No, I think he's great. I totally agree with you regarding the, he's definitely has more class than everyone else out there. So, yeah, now that you're bringing it up, I know I saw it. I didn't see it, but I saw it was there, and I just didn't get around to it. But thanks for reminding me, and I definitely, I'm going to check it out.
So we're reminding you out there too. 20 minutes, well worth watching. So you can find links for it all over the place. But Bruce made this himself as well. So good job, Bruce. All right.
I just want to say, though, sorry, really quickly, that I haven't seen it yet. But the thing is, though, I have to agree. Best guy ever. I love the man. I've met him numerous times at the NAMM conventions whenever I've went. And, here's the thing, too, that some people must know, obviously, but he's been keeping the 80s side of Kiss alive now for a very long time. I'm a frequent watcher of his YouTube channel, and I'm a big fan of his, Guitar of the Month segment that he does, where he always pulls out a certain guitar and shows it and talks about it and shows pictures of it. And he's even shown old footage now and old soundboard stuff from the Asylum tour and stuff like that. If you talk about one person who has kept that side of the Kiss legacy afloat and people getting more and more interested in it, he's the man who deserves all the credit for that. Kiss deserves zero in that. It's him totally that deserves the credit in it. And there's one thing that I'm kind of curious about. Will they have given him any time at all on any of these things, as far as will he make an appearance in the biopic, and will he even be mentioned in this A&E thing? I'm very curious to hear about that.
It'll be interesting to see. Well, going from one guitarist and legacy to another. Vinnie Vincent's latest bash took place this past weekend again at SIR in Nashville. Apparently the first 2 hours were a live performance by him for that audience only. And again, no video, no recording, no evidence. Mike Brunn did an interview with him. That was the third hour of the event, and then he spent the other 3 hours signing stuff for everyone who was in attendance there. And the interview with Mike Brunn, I have not had the chance to listen to. To be perfectly honest, the audio was so bad on it, I couldn't listen to it. I'd started to. And I don't know how interested I am by Vinnie, but what did interest me was the supposed set list from this May Metal Madness. That his performance goes from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on this past Saturday. Starts with The Shred, goes into No Mercy. Boys Are Gonna Rock.
Yeah. Boys Are Gonna Walk.
Animal. That's my childhood speech impediment that sometimes rears its ugly head. Animal. Twisted. I Want to Be Your Victim. Gypsy in Her Eyes. Forbidden. Over You. I'm on Fire for You. Ooh, that's a good one. Thrill of the Chase. I Just Wanna. And on the 8th day, culminating with Lick It Up. Apparently he was playing to new backing tracks, and not apparently doing the singing. But what are your guys' thoughts on that set? Any of those jump out at you? Ooh, if I got to see Vinnie, I hope he'd do that, or any of those that particularly interest you? Mark, you didn't have much of an opinion on the last question, so let's start with you.
Well, I mean, look, Vinnie Vincent, as far as his set list is concerned, I mean, I think on the 8th day is something I probably would have wanted to see, because I mean, it's something that I don't think they did when he was in the band or when he was even out of it, obviously. But obviously the songs that he did with Kiss, are of interest. I mean, maybe not Lick It Up, because I mean that's such a easy, simple song. I don't know what he could show me on that would impress me at all. But On the Eighth Day is a cool song. And some of the songs that he that you mentioned earlier, like from his Vinnie Vincent Invasion days. I mean, I don't know that much of his stuff outside of it, like his that Treasure album or whatever that one was, and stuff like that. I'm not too familiar with that stuff. But I'm very curious if there will ever come a time, maybe when he's done like his ninth version of this kind of get together, maybe then he'll start letting some audio leak, maybe. I mean, I'm curious to actually hear some of this stuff. I mean, if it's going so well and if people are saying it was a fantastic time and it went really well and this and that, then what does he have to worry about anymore? Like, just show something. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, one of the things that disappoints me, is people attacking, on the FAQ at least, attacking Mike, for the interview. And you know what? Kudos to him building a relationship with Vinnie, where Vinnie will speak to him, whether it's for a closed audience, but then share that. Next time, let him plug into the soundboard so it's easier. Ken, have you followed any of this on Vinnie? I mean, he promised a whole lot of things to fans again.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it was probably a pretty good time for the couple 3 hours or whatever it was that he played, and it was more about just seeing Vinnie and then about meet and greet kind of thing. So yeah, I agree that I would like to seen some of those songs played or see what he did on those. I guess no vocals, like you said. Definitely, and on the Eighth Day, yeah, that would have been kind of cool because I love that song. The only thing that was promised was, I think, the food there that was supposed to be for a whole ton of people, but it's like it could only feed. There was only enough for like about 4 people. So that kind of like he couldn't afford.
That's not going to do any harm to most Kiss fans. There not being enough food at the event.
I know, but it's kind of like cheesy that there's
and come on, he serves salad too. I mean, he's really looking out for people's health.
I'm not eating because I know there's going to be food there. Well, no, there wasn't. No food there. No, or not enough. But anyway, I guess the most important thing is the music and then the experience that the people had with Vinnie, which is perfectly fine.
Right, Lonnie. He played a revenge song.
He did. I think it's great for the people that went. If that's what you want to do, and that's what I'm not one to tell people how to spend their money or anything like that. If that's what you want to do, and I saw people online that were very happy, that got to meet him and were very pleased with the experience. So that's great. I just wish, I'm with Julian, I wish I could. The set list intrigues me. I think it's fun. It's diverse, but I would like to hear something. He's been, I guess you could say, back since 2018, kind of back and forth a little bit since January of 2018. But I've still really haven't heard him shred since he's been back. I'd like, if I'm not doubting it. People said, "Oh no, it's okay." Well, it's music. I want to hear it. Let me hear it. You want more people. You want more people to go to events like this. You want more people to be excited about this. Then put it out there somehow, some way. I've never heard in 2021 of an event where people cannot bring their phones in. Basically, is what it is. It's like you're checking your phone at the door. Almost is what it sounds like, and that's very, very bizarre. And it's hard to wrap your brain around that, really. That, well, the internet, putting a video out there, if it's as great as what people, if it's as great as what the Vinnie fans say it is, then put it out there so more people will come, and you can make more money. I mean, not a difficult concept. So I just would like to hear it.
I don't think he wants to. I think
obviously.
I think he likes the scale of event with a very small and easy to control, perhaps, or safer. Maybe it's a little bit of both. That it is very much about protecting himself from too many people or being too arduous. It's a challenge to press the flesh with fans for an extended period of time. But what I do notice is that a lot of the people who go, or at least several of them, I know, and they seem to have a good time and go again. So that kind of speaks to a certain amount of, they're not Kool-Aid drinking cult members. I think they actually enjoy what he is selling. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it multiple times. I can understand going once. I bought tickets to Graceland, to that event that got canceled. So I'm not going to throw any mud at anyone for attending these events, because I put my money where my mouth was, and on the airfare as well for that. So I think after 3 years, it'd be nice to see something a little bit more tangible for the masses from Vinnie. But I do also understand that it's very complex, and I know that he is a challenge to work with, as he's very specific and particular. I'm trying to be very fair to Vinnie and try not to, be emotional that I haven't had my desires met by, anything since 2018, other than meeting him and getting to thank him for the music. Maybe for me that is it. In which case, that's perfectly fine, as was the phone call, where I got to apologize to him. That was really cool. But it would be nice for him to do a video in some form. I'd love for him to prove the naysayers wrong, if that's the case. Mm-hmm. Why? Just because it would be nice to know that he can still do it. But then again, it doesn't really matter. So he's happy doing what he's doing. I'm happy. I have no interest in attending one currently. It doesn't mean that down the road he announces one and I don't change my mind, but currently it doesn't do much for me. I thought the set list was interesting, but I don't know how much I want to listen to backing tracks and just watching him noodle. I can do that at home. And
wasn't there also word of him saying something that there's something new coming out, some new music or new something rather coming down the pipe now?
Yeah.
Like 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that's
something.
Yeah.
That's just a fart in the wind,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
we're supposed to get 2 box sets in 2018.
2 box
also.
sets, yeah. He wouldn't allow the Carmine stuff to come out, so he's got the masters. He's got good stuff. I rant about it every time. I'm not going there. Let's go back into some of the topics of the day. And, with the latest Kiss colored vinyl, Ken, did you get yours yet? Your Walmart?
Which one?
Your Kiss World Walmart?
I think Lonnie got his.
I got mine, yeah.
Did you open it?
No.
Shame on you. Can't even,
Sorry.
not even
I didn't get that
open
one.
it to show us.
Sorry.
Still didn't get it.
What would you like next, Lonnie?
What would I like next?
Yeah.
I would like something from the 80s. Or I would really like Revenge in about this time next year. That's what I would really like. Is for them to, come back out. I mean, it's no surprise anybody listens to the show. But I would like some Revenge t-shirts and, Revenge Gold Award and colored Revenge vinyl. That'd be awesome. Give it the treatment that they've given some of these other albums. I'd eat it up. I don't know about the rest of you. I would eat it up, obviously. But what do I want between now and May? You guys are going to hear me talk about this between now and May of next year. This is what I want in May of 2022. But what would I like? I would like to see. They have basically ignored the non-makeup stuff when it comes to this colored vinyl release, other than Hot in the Shade.
Hot in the Shade.
And it's not surprising because they ignore the 80s in general, except Bruce Kulick. No, they don't like to talk about when they didn't wear the makeup. Gene does an interview and he says, well, we put on our makeup for the last 47 years. Well, you didn't wear the makeup for a good amount of time, but we don't talk about that. So I would like them to not ignore the non-makeup stuff. It's the Kiss I grew up with. I'd like to see that. I would like to see Asylum. I'd like to see Analyze. I'd like to see Lick It Up. I'd like to see Alive 3 for that matter. Just give me something more of that era instead of ignoring it. The Shout It Out Loud single, now that was cool, but let's do the rest of these albums before we start going down the singles path.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I mean, honestly, for me, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't just continued down the anniversary sort of path. I mean, it's 2021. I mean, they should be doing, The Elder this year. I mean, I know it's an album that's not a big thing on their... No, I know it's not a big thing on their thing, but, why ditch it now? I mean, the fact of the matter is they're trying to get every single cent from Kiss people to begin with. I mean, what's the difference if you're going to go and re-release, Lick It Up on colored vinyl or anything else? Like you just said, you did Hot in the Shade. I mean, to me, that album is worse than Elder in a lot of ways. That album's shit. And you gave that a blue vinyl treatment. So why wouldn't you just give Elder? Lots of people like the Elder now, much more than you guys probably think. So, and if you guys are all about the money, which you guys obviously are, or the record label is all about, then why the hell wouldn't they do it? They're going to get it sold anyways. So what's the big deal? So that's one thing I think they should do. And I'm really hoping that they do something like that for Creatures, because I love Creatures of the Night. And if they did something like that with that album, I think it'd be fantastic. I think Lonnie's 100% right. They should do all of those 80s ones. I mean, there's a big chunk of people that came into Kiss during that time period. And a lot of people that regard those albums as entry points for them and records that are very important to them. So for you to disregard that and not give it that treatment it's like insulting Kiss fans, I mean, at the end of the day, I know Kiss fans are the type of people just going to buy it anyways. And even if they were insulted, they're going to buy it anyways because that's just how they are, right? But, one of these days, I hope that it backfires on them. That some people are going to say, you know what, put it out, and I'm not going to buy any of it. And you can stick it up your crack hole, because I'm getting so fed up with this stuff happening. That people, they're just, on one hand, they want to get every cent out of us, but at the same time, they don't give us what we want, So that's my little piece on the matter.
Someone put a quarter in Mark today. There we go.
Yeah. I think there's only one album from the 70s that they haven't done, and that's Alive 2. And I don't think we need to wait for an anniversary, because if we wait for an anniversary, that's going to be what? Next year?
Year and a half away.
Or so? Yeah.
These halvesy anniversaries suck, by the way. They're
right,
stupid.
right.
Unless it's 25 years.
Just say special, colored vinyl edition or whatever. I'd love, yeah. I do agree with Elder and so on and all the 80s stuff. But
get the loser.
But Alive 2, definitely. I don't know what's taking so long on that one. That one needs to happen.
He did Alive.
I'd rather them just do a box set and then put colored vinyl in there and extra stuff. But we got stuff. We did get stuff like this. I know you had that on the subject.
Some
like
of
this.
you did.
This was a nice one that came out this year. Another great one that they were on a good start when they started everything with the solo album box set, and that was a good package with all the albums and the extra stuff that
yes
was
it was
there.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so they do need to hit the 80s. I don't know if they need to go chronologically, but they definitely need to do it. And Lonnie, there is a Revenge colored vinyl out there from back in the came out in the early H&H.
Right.
I gray and blue.
I have a copy.
Right.
You gotta search it up, but
I got one from
find
you.
it on Discogs. I gave one to. I had a couple of copies, and I gave one to Mark. back
There you go.
like a year or so ago. But
Things are right in the world.
yeah. So yeah, look up that one. At least you'll have something until they do a newer.
No, but I wanted to get the treatment that you've given some of these other albums and celebrate these other albums like they have. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing too. Out of the ones that are being out, and I don't know if I'm stepping on your foot here, Julian, by asking this, but which one are the ones that have come out do you guys actually like the best? I mean, for me personally, I like the Dynasty re-release. I think that one turned out really nice. You know, they did the poster, it turned out good. The only complaint I had about the Dynasty one is that I had to order it twice because the first one I got skipped like hell. It was like skipping like crazy through it was made for loving you. And I heard a few people had the same issue in it, that they had to send it back and get another copy.
You know, back in the 70s, I Was Made for Loving You had a skip on it too when it first came out, which is
a whole
really
damn batch of Dynasty had a skip on it.
I remember the one I bought didn't skip. My friend who bought on the same day, his skipped, but mine didn't. I don't know why.
Maybe your arm is differently.
Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, on the Dynasty, they had a green vinyl, right? Mm-hmm. U.S. Then they had a green vinyl in Europe, but it was a different green vinyl.
Yeah,
it's a different one. Was like translucent. I think ours.
The U.S. was translucent.
I have both of them.
Of course.
I think Killers, Mark, is the answer to your question for me. Which one of these colored album pressings do I think?
Which one? Sorry.
Killers.
Absolutely
glorious.
Killers.
I wish my copy had survived.
Really nice.
Really looks good. I think the orange Rock and Roll Over looks fantastic as well, for that matter. Just really lovely looking. But so does Hot in the Shade. That blue was really nice.
Well, the one platinum. You don't like, I'll tell you right now, the one I don't like was that Kiss, the debut album.
Yes.
Where it had one little.
The smoky.
It turned out to be white. It was one little spot of a black. Like, what the hell was that?
The double platinum from Germany was really good too.
Yeah, I also like the unmasked. The splatter unmasked they did was really nice too. I finally had a type of splatter. Of course, it's not the Mexican type, but the splatter that he did first was a pretty good attempt at recreating that for sure. I mean, that's definitely a good one.
And the Best of the Soul albums was
very good too.
Yeah. So there are a lot of good examples.
The Alive is pretty poor though.
Alive is dreadful.
Yeah.
But even the Best of the Solos, the splatter, these splatters don't look anything like as interesting as, say, the Mexican swirly vinyl from 1981 of Unmasked. That thing is absolutely spectacular looking. And I had a really good one that had nice translucent yellow. I sold it, of course, after it's the hunt. It's the kill, not the hunt. Got rid of it. So I would like to see them doing that sort of design, just not another freaking splatter, which is why I like the Ace Frehley Trouble Walking. What are we all watching? Shadow?
Trying to join the podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me in! So I would like to see them expanding on that. And Ace, those greatest hit ones from Newbury Comics, the half and half.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. But if we don't have an anniversary to celebrate, let's get some of the non-American catalog stuff in, like Shakara on LP would be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. They've done the single, which I was on eBay today and looking at that. Like, that looks really good. Let's see some more of those. I mean, how difficult is it? Just do it. There are some great international picture sleeves, and I'm surprised now that I missed that, because I was like, I had regrets today. So,
regrets.
There we go. All right, that's it. That's an hour. Let's go. There are more topics, but we'll pick that up in another episode. All right. So, for now, or actually, what are your favorites, and what do you think about all the topics? Have I persuaded you that you want to watch the A&E biography? No, I'm sorry. So for now, from Lonnie, Ken, Mark, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.